Hello everyone and welcome to Whiskey Wednesday. Hope everybody has enjoyed their holiday season. We're moving into the new year and we hope everyone had a happy new year. We're accompanied tonight by Robb through Rocky Patel. Thank you for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're going to get started on the audio real quick as we share this. We encourage all of you to share it. Please like it, tell a friend so we can build this as we get into 2019. We're going to be sipping on the Wathen's single barrel bourbon. Also going to be the Rocky Patel, obviously with having Robb here. It's going to be the Olde World Reserve Corojo. I'm excited to try it. I don't think I've ever seen it in the shop. So
we just got it in. It's new.
We just got it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's re-release this past year.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to get into that, and then our topic of the night is perfect for the new year, is
Absolutely.
as we talk about new beginnings. There's a bunch of different stories around this table talking about new beginnings, how things can fall and how they can begin and what they can really lead to. And we'll get into relationships, jobs, whatever we set our minds to, really.
Dustin, you mind setting up the other light?
So basically whatever the alcohol dictates.
Yeah, kind of. Well,
Yeah.
It's really about your heart, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your heart?
Yes.
Okay.
I know you don't have one, but it's...
It's there.
You don't need one.
Right.
So...
We'll see that thing grow 3 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Maybe if you start talking, not me. But we hope that you guys are enjoying your night, sipping on something good. And if you're able to, smoking something good as well. Please tell us what you're sipping on, what you're smoking on. We did have a last minute change, so for those that did get the Laranja, we apologize, and maybe we can do that next week. And then make sure we have something, make sure we tell you what we're going to be sipping, so you guys can join along.
Let's plan a little orange next week. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you have to throw an audible in there sometimes, you know?
Yep.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's gonna happen.
All right. You all saved up there or shared
I'm
up?
all shared up. You might want to do the same.
Well, you can talk to them now.
All right, well. So what's everyone smoking and drinking tonight here? If you are watching, Jacob Sanders is watching. If you are watching live right now, hopefully you guys are at least having a drink because I know it's cold. It got cold again.
It's a little chilly though.
So
How's it going, Kevin, Nate, Kylie, of course?
Hello, Kylie.
Amy is down in, I think, Georgia, so I hope it's warmer for her. I know that she just did a move unless she moved or she is visiting right now, but we'll see. Nate was beginning to worry about us. That's sweet, Nate. Thank you. We had some unplanned.
Nate's got heart.
He does have heart. He does have heart. All right, you ready? You share it up.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Right.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Justin,
Are you guys ready?
Oh, not me.
No, Dustin, are you ready?
Give me a minute.
All right, no.
Oh, no, we're good. Hello, everyone, and happy Whiskey Wednesday. We're into the new year. I'm Jake Sanders, along with Steve Crane, and we make up the Bourbon and BS podcast, episode 48. Tonight, we're going to be talking about new beginnings. We're accompanied tonight by Robb, from Rocky Patel.
That's right, Robb Wilson.
Yes.
Rocky Patel Premium Cigar.
Yes, and he brought this, for our audio listeners, he brought this massive board.
Video, yeah.
That's awesome, with all the different cigars on it that are ranked above 90 and up, and it's awesome. I love that you brought your own kind of plethora of Rocky
He's got his own setup here.
I know, it's amazing.
It's pretty nice.
I mean, you know, if you're gonna do it.
Agreed. Thank you.
Look, if Rocky Patel himself was here,
It'd be different.
It'd be different.
It'd be a lot different.
It'd be a lot different, you know. But my Ohio-born self,
Yes.
you know, at least I bring the box. You got the, you know, represent with the
Oh, it looks
ashtrays,
nice.
a lot of,
Nice.
you know.
You know,
Color
nice
coordinated,
setup.
orange all over the
Right,
place.
and then again, those, you know, watching the video, they have something visually appealing outside of, you know, our 3 handsome faces.
Have you not seen the back wall there?
I was gonna say, let's not forget.
Oh, well, yeah.
I appreciate the fact you didn't block the H. Upman logo from Altadis, who does actually sponsor every week.
Ooh.
I tried
Nail in
to...
the coffin.
I mean, it's
I
just...
try...
It's just off.
Just
Yeah.
half of the Alec
Just-
Bradley.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
Yeah,
That
brilliant.
works.
Yeah. So, we appreciate you being here tonight and sponsoring this episode with some great cigars.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And charming personality.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if this is your first time tuning in, we're going to be sipping a whiskey. Tonight we're going to be sipping Wathen's Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey Single Barrel. We're going to be smoking Rocky Patel, the Olde World Reserve Corojo. And then our second cigar of the evening, we don't talk much about, is going to be by Altadis, which is our sponsor. It's going to be the Mi Dominicana, correct?
Mi Dominicana by Jose Cejas, a legendary blender.
Nice. I haven't had that one, so we're excited to get into that.
As Paul Waller just tunes in.
Yes.
Perfect timing there for the Jose
Good to
Cejas.
see you, Paul. Yes, and then we also have a topic. We talk about the pairing, talk about the whiskey a little bit, and the cigar, and then we have our topic. As we get into 2019, we hope everyone had a great new year, great celebration with family, friends, but we're going to get this ball rolling into 2019. We're going to start talking about new beginnings. We know it's a big topic for all of you as we get into 2019, and I think it's going to be a good conversation tonight.
Let's hope so.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Let's hope so.
New year, everybody's got their
New Year's resolutions and
that they planned back in say like 2014, and they're rehashing them here in 2019.
there's some that are pretty stereotypical, I guess, or common. You know,
Yeah.
top 10 lists like work out, eat better, save money, not spend as much, not kill anyone, whatever.
It's really it's the main last one for me.
Typical
For me, it's the last one.
sometimes you say
that's how it is.
again, not
Yeah.
you don't want to do it again. But
Don't piss me off, Eddie.
before we get into that, you mentioned Altadis, or we mentioned Altadis. We do thank Rocky Patel for being here. I mean, you think about it, like Rob being local, it works, but he's on the road a lot. So, in a sense, they're sponsoring this episode with being here, taking time out of your holiday kind of weekend. Was last weekend and kind of in town. So the fact you're willing to do this is great. And
I'm happy to be
supply
here.
the cigars.
Staycation the last week.
Right, exactly.
And we had this bottle was donated.
Yes, by our friend Kirk Cottle. That was
Yeah.
on episode, I believe, 45
Yeah.
or 44.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk, for bringing that. It was interesting that night we had talked about how, he had always been taught if you're going to go somewhere, bring something to...
Yeah, it's nice.
You should bring something. So that was a very nice gesture, Kirk. Thank you for donating that. And
Thank you, Kirk.
for our listeners, you can also do the same thing. Just get a hold of us and
Yeah.
we can start sponsoring bottles. And you can sponsor a podcast by donating a bottle. So
Yeah, and then so typically, and that's where the Altus comes from, the Mi Dominicana, but we also have the Olde World Reserve Corojo at Tinder Box at Easton, who normally supplies our featured cigar, but since Rob was coming and was gracious enough to sponsor the episode, this is fantastic. So
we just got these in, right?
We just got them in. It's rebranding, I guess.
It is.
Re-release.
Oh, re-release. Yeah, the Olde World Reserve was discontinued back in 2012.
2012.
Yeah, and in the years that I've been doing this, which is right at 4.5 years now.
Yeah.
Most common thing hearing on the road in regards to our brand and blends and stuff being discontinued, everyone's, why do you discontinue the Old World? Why do you discontinue the Old World? And finally we got it back, and all those fans of yesteryear, they're loving the new blend, and they're liking it better than they did originally.
Now, is this part of it too? Is that this is a predicate blend for the day?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously
We've gotten into the FDA stuff.
Huge part of it.
We've gotten into the FDA stuff a little bit, and it's still kind of up in the air as far as what's going to happen with the fact that you have to be grandfathered in prior to 2007 based on the Tobacco Act of 2009 that
Right.
was originally exempting cigars, pipe tobacco, and others, but now they are looking at bringing it all together. It was actually passed that way. It was a 2-year grace period. Now it's a 5-year grace period. We don't know what's going on. Which brings us to our next sponsor, which is BS Cigar Company. Which may not be here in a couple days.
All right.
So,
can I buy stock?
Thanks,
in that?
Obama.
Or can I just buy stock? And
You can give me money and I'll just kick you in the nuts because you would not buy stock in something I'm literally telling you probably won't be around in 2 years.
So,
You can though. Think about it.
I just like your cigars. I'm
Sleep
trying
on
to give
it.
you a
Just sleep
compliment.
on it.
I'm trying to give you a compliment, man.
Just buy more cigars.
All right. Well, We hope
So,
everyone's
solid
enjoying
financial
it.
advice.
so far, the first 15 minutes of this podcast, it's been everything I expected.
6.5, but you got more to go. So.
All right. Feels like I've been here forever.
Yes.
In a good way.
Kylie says, "Where's the champagne, Jake?" For those of you that follow some of the personal
Oh my gosh,
social media,
that was funny. Did you see that?
Jake toasted himself at midnight for New Year's.
Alicia was with me after we had our New Year's kiss. I just tipped the bottle up and it just went, just exploded in my face. And I was still recording. That was the best part.
No, it's on. Yeah, it's on.
It's all on my social media.
Available for you to.
It's available.
You to review.
And to laugh at.
Yes, it was a great time. We had a good time.
Yeah, it was good. So happy New Year, everyone.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Yes.
Hopefully you did.
Welcome to 2019.
You want to talk about the whiskey?
Let's just talk about the whiskey. So far, I think I've taken a few sips of it. It's
What do you think?
Very good.
Yeah.
It's. I think you're gonna come out with some food flavors.
Oh, for sure.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Nope. Come on, Rob. Hurry up.
I think there's.
Now let's do it.
I always say, the ones that I really tasted, but I do get some sweetness out of this, and I do think there is some kind of. It's like if you heated up a Werther's original, or like a Werther's original that was in some old person's pocket for a long time.
Is that a chocolate bar?
Typically no, it's a butterscotch.
No.
This is something I've done before, isn't it?
No, but the only people that have Werther's originals with them are old people. You know that, right? I mean, that's just how it works. So you don't have if you have
Not that, but
How many kids are going through a grocery store saying, "Hey, Ma, can we get a bag of Werther's original?"
Yeah,
it's not happening.
and it's I love it because it does remind me of my grandma. But if you came over to my house, I think the most shocking thing that you could probably see in my house, if I'm like, "Hey, Rob, can I offer you a hard candy?"
Trust me, there's a lot of shocking things to see at Steve's house.
But you know what I mean?
Go ahead,
It's
Steve.
a Werther's original.
I've never had one.
Have you? Did you?
I've had.
Did you have dessert? I got some Werther's originals.
Oh, that would
So
be
if you
fantastic.
Suck on. I'm getting that out of this.
Are those kind of like? Are
It's
they
like a butterscotch.
Is it a
No, it's a
butterfinger?
hard candy.
It's a hard candy.
Yeah, you take the wrapper
Yeah,
off
got it.
and just pop it in the mouth. And
Never
and
had
suck
one.
on it.
I really
it's
haven't.
like a buttery.
I really haven't had one.
All right.
So I don't know what you're talking
Nate
about.
Hale for it. I have a bag in my work drawer. You would.
He really would.
Do you really, Nate, have a bag of Werther's originals or hard candy? Which one are we talking about?
Without pictures, it ain't real.
Yeah, I think you need to post that to the page.
Nate's like the old historian that has all this random
He
shit.
keeps bags of Werther's in his sweater. Not for years, not since that. Never mind.
No. So
You're comparing this to Werther's?
Well,
I just think it's got that butterscotch
no.
feel.
Yeah, I kind of.
You get that, Rob?
Yeah, I'm picking up. I do actually see what you're saying.
So for those who didn't hear at the beginning, it's the Wathen's Kentucky Bourbon single barrel. And it doesn't have an age statement. It's sourced, as we've talked a lot about. It's interesting. I do get what Steve's talking about. I get that sweetness. I was thinking honey.
Yeah.
I was thinking caramel. Not so much. Well, I mean,
Sounds like you're just grabbing Werther's originals right there.
butterscotch and caramel. I mean, it's kind of the same. But a little background story on it is it comes from the Medley family, which has been distilling for like a couple centuries now. Anyways, it goes way back in history, but all their stuff is nothing that they distill anymore. They stopped distilling in probably late 80s, early 90s. And everything's sourced. We don't know exactly where it's sourced from, but rumors are that a lot of their stuff comes from Buffalo Trace and Heaven Hill. It is 47% alcohol. The mash bill is 77% corn, which is why it's extremely sweet. 10% rye and 13% malted barley. I'm guessing that high percentage of malted barley along with that high percentage of corn is where we're getting those like caramelized notes and your Werther's notes and stuff like that.
Rose.
Yeah, but I think it's really good. Initially, agreed with Steve. It's got that caramel butterscotch. I think honey, a little bit of oak behind it. There's like a, you hear me talk all the time. I really search for that like dried fruit note, that dark fruit in the back, and this one definitely has it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the rye and the corn, but it's definitely there. Maybe I'd say maybe plum, like way in the back. But if you're really searching for it, but that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
Did you search?
Yeah, that's
How long
way
did you
back there.
search? Do you get all that?
Yeah.
I don't see.
Plum?
Yeah.
When was the last time you had a plum?
Right.
A long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Long
So must
time
be
ago,
plum.
Yeah, bullshit.
Well,
Guy that says, I'm looking for a bourbon that tastes like an old man has been carrying around candies in their pocket for 6 months. What do you suggest? You know, Kylie, I'd say Wathen's Kentucky Bourbon single barrel. No, I think that's great that you can get all that, because I would never guess plum. Like, I mean, when you say that way in the back, I mean, I know you're really, I mean, all joking aside, you know, you're really developing your palate a lot more, which is great. I think it's fantastic. I don't think I could ever, I don't know. Go ahead.
no, it's fine when we're talking about this. Like, it doesn't, honestly, tastings don't make for a really good, interesting podcast, to be honest. Like, after all this time, I don't think it does, because because we talk about, like, you don't want really dead air
Yeah, of course.
on your podcast.
No.
And it's hard, especially when we're doing a live, to do it live and not pause.
Right.
If we were just doing audio, we could sit here and go like this for like 15 minutes, cut out that part,
yeah, of course.
and then just snip it together.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to try to do this live, like instantly, and try to figure out stuff. That's why I've been like trying it before we start.
Yeah.
Sure.
But when I do those, like you call it searching, I kind of think of, I have this booklet, it's like 33 glasses of whiskey, and it's just like a notebook, and it has all these balances, like you get your linger, your dark fruit, citrus note, floral, spicy, herbal, malty, toffee, woody, tannic, char, sweet, body, legs, and balance.
So you're
I
trying
feel
to look
so
for that stuff?
elementary
Yeah,
right now.
Well, they have that for cigars too. We talked about that.
Yeah.
that
So
tasting wheel,
in my
right?
mind,
That's
I don't
You're
really
looking for that stuff.
I'm looking for that stuff, and that's what I've tried to portray
No,
on
I
the
get it.
podcast
I get
before,
it.
where it's like you know you're always gonna have an oak note, you know you're always gonna have a weird, like not a weird, but a rich vanilla in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You're always gonna get a bitterness because it has it's a high proof alcohol. But you
That's really
with the oak and stuff, you're gonna get those dark fruit notes if you search for them.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially like the
So
linger.
now you've explained that makes more sense. Before it did sound a little pretentious.
Okay.
No, seriously, like when you talk like that, like because
but
now
a
you
lot of people
explain why.
Here's the difference, though. I mean, it's just like cigars, bourbons, anything palate-based. There are certain people who do. You do the work, if you will. You have to educate yourself. You're looking for the certain things. You're developing, your palate. You're reading up on stuff. And again, with a book like this is really nice, actually. Where it's telling you look for this, look for that, and so you're consciously putting this effort in.
Well, take a sip of that, Rob, and look at that table and see what you.
I was giving you a little help, but seriously, I have a pretty okay palate, and like, bourbon wise, I mean, I'm stereotypical. I like my bourbon, I like my coffee, I like my cigars.
Yeah.
I'm that stereotype. And I have an okay palate, and I do taste certain things, but I can't always pinpoint what that note is. I don't always have a descriptive word to put on it. That said, I have had a plum in not too long, and there is a little bit of plum in that.
There you go.
So,
I don't recall the last time I've had plum.
Yeah.
I clearly had
I was young.
I clearly have a much more basic.
Well, where I live,
palate.
in Westerville, I have the farmer's market right on the corner.
Oh,
So I'm
nice.
always getting fresh fruit whenever I'm in
Yeah.
town,
Yeah.
and it's there.
Well, it was funny because we were talking. When was that? Was that during? Dustin and I were trying to find a citrus note last week after the podcast was done, and it was Eric. It was Eric on Saturday
Sunday.
or Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. So I came over to Steve's, and our friend Eric Goldhaber. He's one of those guys that he doesn't drink, but he loves smelling bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
To try to figure out like what he has a great palate, honestly, and a little bit of imagination too. But I think that's good when you're doing this stuff.
Well, you have to.
But he was talking about like a citrus note, and we were trying to find it, and it wasn't like a lemon, it wasn't a lime, it wasn't an orange. So I was like trying to find something that was like a balance kind of.
Grapefruit?
Yeah, so I was thinking, exactly, I was thinking like
grapefruit.
It was grapefruit or apricot was what I was going after. Because that apricot has that more of a, what would you say, like it's got more orange in it than a grapefruit. But it's not like, like the smell of it, right? It's not the taste.
Joshua Rushing, I think it's his first time watching this, but he says the Oliva Serie V has a nice orange peel.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
That's interesting, Josh.
I've never gotten that, Joshua, but I'm looking for it. I also wanted to point out, so this little side story, that these guys are drinking out of Glencairn glasses, right?
Yes, which makes a big difference.
So Josh Porter, who hosted some of us for New Year's, Jake had left his box of Glencairn glasses over there.
Yeah.
And where is that box? You have it?
It's behind here.
Behind it?
Yeah.
So I have that sitting on the counter at the shop.
There it is.
And if you can see that on the camera, granted the G is a little funky. Here's what happened. So Todd, I think he might still be watching, but if you see him on here, it's Kenneth Todd Gorge. So Todd, who works at the Tinder Box at Easton, one of our sponsors, he's sitting there looking at it, and I'm about ready to grab it. He's like, "Huh? So leprechaun glasses, huh?" And I just looked at him.
Todd Gorge said that.
I said, "What?
Huh?
No. Do you think that's what that says?" And he's like, looks at it again. I said, "This is Glencairn." And he said, "Oh." I look over at Brian. I'm like, "Brian, I just got a quick question. What is the standard of reading level that you have to be at?" And
Todd said that?
yes, and I'm like,
He's on here.
I'm looking at him. I'm like, first of all, you're taking out letters, and there's not a P in that word, and there's definitely a P in leprechaun. I said, "What?" And then he starts describing the glass as being short, and it has a little stoutness in the belly area. I just don't. I mean,
That's good.
That's
good.
And then of course Brian plays along with it. He's like,
Oh,
"What,
sure.
the leprechaun glasses?"
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure.
he heard him
Yeah,
say
no,
it.
I'm sure.
Come on.
So they're now the leprechaun glasses.
Jesus.
But definitely with Steve like drinking out of a rocks glass, and don't get me wrong, rocks glasses are one of my favorites. But I think as we do this, that's why like I got a set of these where I wanted to like really dive into, because as it being a flute shape, and we've talked about that on Beyond the BS, we've done that a few times. You get a lot of aromatics because it bunches up, and you called that, what did you say, Steve? The
belly?
The belly of the glass.
Of the leprechaun.
Yeah.
The belly of the leprechaun.
And then as it funnels up, it makes those flavors and the rich notes more direct. Where with the rocks glass, it's just up and out.
Yeah, I mean it opens it. Yeah, I get that.
Which is good.
It's kind of like wine glasses. I enjoy wine, but it's like there are certain glasses for different types of wine. Rob's laughing at. He's losing on the leprechaun
I know.
thing. Do you want some?
Is that because Dustin's here?
Lucky Charms in there?
No, again, everything I expected.
Well, as we sip this and get into the cigar,
It really is like one of those scenes in a movie where he's just like, it's the leprechaun glasses, and I just kind of like didn't. It's just he was straight faced. It's literally what he thought the box
So
said.
for those of you still with us tonight,
yeah, exactly.
I just cobblepot glass. Yeah, exactly. I just didn't. I mean, it's like one of those things. Like I don't know. It's like my only response was, "Is that really what you think that says?" Because it's like I don't know if I'm insulting him at that point, or
Do you ever worry about that?
if someone can't read, I don't want to make fun of them.
bullshit. If anybody wants to make fun of them, it's you.
If I know them, maybe. So that was the way. Hey, what's the level of reading that's required? What grade level?
What level of asshole do I want to be today?
Exactly.
Is that what you asked yourself? Was it
It
between
was
like a
actually
4 and a
shocking.
2?
Because I thought he was joking, and I'm like, I didn't get the joke, and so then I thought I was the dumb one. But then it turns out,
You thought you were being
love you,
conned.
Todd. I love you, Todd. I'm talking with you.
You thought you were being conned on the joke.
There's a smoke.
So,
lingering
Todd,
in the
speaking of
camera. Look at this.
new beginnings here in 2019,
Thanks,
just gonna be a little bit kinder.
No, in fact, Bob Keller at the shop says, I don't even know what I said. And he's just like, new year, same Steve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, as we're getting into the cigar, I hope we like this pairing. So far, I really do, but I know...
It's Joshua Russian, I like him. He says, Helen Keller read that.
I know. He's
ruthless. I like this guy.
Ouch!
I like this guy.
I did want to ask before, Steve and Rob gets into kind of the makeup of this cigar, the Olde World Reserve Corojo. Why was there a 6-year hiatus where it was discontinued and then brought back? What was the mindset?
Room for other blends.
Was it not selling well? Or was it a tobacco shortage thing, as far as supply?
I gotta be honest,
You don't know.
It was before me. So honestly speaking, I'm not quite aware.
Okay.
So with the whole predicate date thing though, it's you have an opportunity now if you want to keep expanding or at least keeping your portfolio full. And I'm not saying Rocky Patel Cigars did this, but you can have, there was no real you had logging of what blends were, but it's not like the FDA has all these records of what the old.
They don't have the
reserve.
recipes.
Yeah. So it's you're taking this, and they might look at it, and at that time they may not have. I don't know. You guys have how many farms? Do you know? Or it's just 2 factories.
2 factories.
So you don't grow, you buy.
No, we grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have these fields also where they might have just tweaked the blend. They might not have a certain filler leaf. That's one of the things you'll see some cigars go way on back order because they're literally just missing that one filler leaf that they had in it. And if you're buying tobacco, especially if that supplier runs out, I know of another brand I'm not going to mention on air, but one of the reasons that they keep going on back order is because they have a certain wrapper leaf that they were buying elsewhere. They grow their own tobacco, but they had this wrapper leaf that they were buying. And now it's 2 years in a row that supplier is basically hey, we're running short.
It happens
all
the time.
There's a smaller yield. We don't have that. And so now they're confident. Again, I'm not going to mention who it is, but the word I heard was that they're utilizing another supplier in the same area, same region.
Absolutely.
It's as close as you can get to what they were getting from that farm, but it's the same seed strand, it's the same, same process, all that stuff.
And and it's just like everything. They'll tweak that blend to match that profile.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's going to happen. So, but that's the whole point of this is that with the looming FDA regulations in the cigar industry, it's basically pushing out some old products. And truth be told, there's actually some, AJ Fernandez was one that we mentioned earlier, I think off the air, but he's got a lot of recipes from before.
Right.
And there's other companies that are doing it, but he's basically, you'll see buy AJ Fernandez.
Right.
That's one of the reasons that I think he's also had some success because for whatever reason, he had all these blends, like a lot of manufacturers had these blends on record. Mm-hmm. And you can then say, all right, so La Polina bought a couple of his, I think, and that was 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago that they were doing that. And that's really how you do it. And that's what you've got here is sitting in front of us is that you can repackage it a little bit and until the FDA regulations, because you don't have all the warning labels on the box quite yet, but you will. So it's just a mess. It's a mess, but it actually, it's nice because it brings out some older products that some people really enjoy. Yeah. And when they see it pop back up, they're going to smoke it. You're going to have that mix of people who are like, oh, I remember this is so great, this is just like it was. And then you're going to have the other people that, whether it's true or not, you could have the same cigar, but again, what was it, 6 years?
Yeah.
Those crops are different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you're being true and honest on it, on the product, they're going to be like, this doesn't taste the same as it used to. That's not what I remember. And it's you've also been smoking, drinking, eating, doing it. You're also 6 years older. So it's I think about that might just taste different to you.
Completely.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of people go in, especially with it being a re-release. They remember, they think they remember what it tasted like 6 years ago.
Well, and the anticipation builds, right? Even if you didn't like it, you're like, oh, I can't get it anymore. So it's astronomically valuable now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Happens all the time.
Yeah,
happens all the time.
Does this only come in a box press?
It does.
Okay.
Robusto, Toro, and 60, all box press.
Okay. Yeah. I was curious if that had something to do with it, thinking about it, why the 6 years or why it discontinued.
Yeah.
If this box press wasn't popular 6 years ago as it is now.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean,
it's definitely gotten more.
You know how we talk about
you think box press is more popular today?
I think so. Yeah, you've seen a lot more come out in box press.
Yeah.
As someone that doesn't like box press normally, there's a lot of freaking box press nowadays. Yeah.
And you'll see a lot with you guys, with Padron. You'll see it a lot with now AJ stuff. Right. You see it a lot with Eric Espinosa's cigars.
Yeah.
But you guys with your vintage line, I think, really dumped on that box press prior to it.
Yeah, the decade.
Yeah, decade.
Vintage.
I mean, it was one of those things that, I mean, you can get the other ones, but I mean, like your Toros were all box press, if I recall correctly. Yeah. But you still have some of the round ones as well, as far as the classic round. But it's just, I think it is getting more popular.
Yeah.
Because you can actually, I think with the box press too, you can make the wrapper leaf look better because of the press.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can almost get a lot of those bumps out of it. It just seems like that because of how they push down on that cigar, the roll, and it does kind of flatten it out, is what I noticed. I don't know, you see that, or is that...
I get what you're saying, absolutely.
I like how soft of the box press it is.
It's a nice cigar.
It is.
Do you know the makeup of this?
Honduran Corojo and Nicaraguan binder and filler.
Yeah,
it comes out of our Honduran factory.
Okay. But utilizing a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco.
Absolutely. Which, because, our other factory
is Nicaraguan. I think that was a game changer for me with Rocky Patel. So for those of you that are smoking anything from Rocky, or we had talked about it prior to it, and if you don't mind, I think that's something that a lot of people will say with certain brands. You know, I don't like this. I don't like that.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You actually said that, I mean, prior to it.
Well, at the beginning, like, I remember, I can't remember what it was, but Rob gave me a cigar, like, when I first started the Tinder Box. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was the special edition. Now, I don't want to...
Private seller, maybe.
Maybe it was a private... It was a purple band.
Yeah, it's private seller.
Maybe it was a private seller. Anyways, I tried it, and it wasn't that I hated it, I just really didn't like it.
Didn't care for it.
I didn't really care for it. And then there's been a few that I haven't really liked, but then as a lesson to our listeners, like, just because like you don't like a few cigars from a company, that doesn't mean that you should stop trying all of them. Or if you have the availability to try a new one from another company, and you don't want, like, you're kind of going to a shop. I know our regulars do that all the time, right? They have like maybe 4 or 5 cigars that they go back to every other day.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, like, they like sit in front of the window asking themselves, well, what do I want to smoke today? And then it's funny because, like, you ask them and say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And they'll say, like, well, I don't like that brand. Mm-hmm. And you say, well, have you tried this cigar, though?
Absolutely.
Like, and that's
just which you get all the time. You get all the time. Again, and it's with all.
And that's what I am with this. I really like this so far.
Yeah.
I really do like
it.
Yeah,
I think they did quite very well with the Corojo.
I think for me with Rocky, it was when you guys did open that Nicaraguan factory and you expanded the portfolio. Because originally it was a lot of Honduran tobacco.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I compare, for better or for worse, I compare Rocky Patel, at least from a retailer standpoint, to Alec Bradley, where they're at now. You guys are ahead of them, I think, as far as timeline and everything else. And you also now have your own factories and fields and everything like that. But as far as the response we get from some of the customers, as far as oh, I don't like Rocky Patel cigars. I was like, well, what have you smoked?
Right.
Have you smoked a lot of them? He's like, no, I smoked like 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And I don't really like it. I mean, you've got such a huge portfolio that you have no idea what they could have smoked.
Right.
And that in lies where if you smoke, say, an Edge Light, and then you don't want to smoke a sun-grown Maduro because it's from Rocky Patel.
Right.
There's an education there that you want to, because again, you have such a big portfolio.
And that's what we rely on. As Rocky Patel, as us reps, all of us
part of your job too.
From all of our, from all the, other companies.
Yeah.
We need you guys. We get out, and obviously when we get out and can do events and stuff like that and get people, in the shops, so we can talk to people specifically when we're in visiting you guys, and we can talk to people and help, do some education. But of course, we can't always be there.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a big help when our retailers, partner with us and help in that education, because look, there's room for everybody. There's a lot of great manufacturers. There's a lot of great blends.
There's a lot of tobacco.
And there's a lot of tobacco.
There is a lot of tobacco, and I think the biggest thing for me is that it's the blender. Because I will say that trying different cigars from especially some of the smaller portfolios, there's some blenders that I don't share the same palate, and I can almost assume or tell that they are the ones that they're blending, not necessarily just to their liking, but they've got something, whether it's their supply of tobacco that they have the ability to blend with, which also helps do a vast portfolios if you have a lot of tobacco out there. If you're just reblending, you're just changing, and you can change it, but there's going to be those similarities. If you just change a couple filler leaves, you change a binder leaf, you change the wrapper, you know, the same core. I mean,
that's why we like Eric Espinosa so much, kind of really, is because he's just like all over the place.
He's all over the place, but now he's also, you know, utilizing AJ Fernandez again. So he's making all of the, producing all of it's the blends, but I mean, he's got enough tobacco out there that he can actually do that for Eric Espinosa and keep up on the production.
I didn't even know Rocky Patel had, I mean, I knew they had a lot of cigars, like different blends, but I've never even seen some of these before.
Yeah.
Well, we've carried, I think, pretty much all of those on there except for the special edition.
Like, I bet I would like that Cameroon.
That Cameroon is a fantastic.
The 2003, yeah. I mean, that looks really good.
It's one of the best Cameroons on the market. It's a great blend, the flavor on that. And you know, we were talking about the blend of the bourbon, and we were talking about the percentage of the rye. I always have to throw this out there. A rye whiskey with a good Cameroon cigar.
Really?
Amazing.
Nice.
Amazing.
I'm not a big Cameroon.
You gotta do that.
See, and that's the thing. Like, we came out with the Decade Cameroon.
I'm aware of that. And I did actually think that was a decent blend.
I loved it. I was a big fan of that. The espresso notes that I got out of that, and the caramel kind of sweetness that was there.
I was just gonna say that, like, Cameroon's like known for that like creamy richness, like toffee.
I get that earthy out of that.
Yeah,
very dirty.
Yeah, you're getting earthy out of the
Seriously?
It's
like a dry dirt.
You're getting earthy, nutty, a little bit of coffee. Yeah, absolutely. But with the Decade Cameroon, it had more of that sweetness in it.
Nice.
And I loved that blend, but unfortunately, we moved past that.
The Decade Cameroon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was really marketed all that well. I mean, as far as being pushed out. Because you look at this stuff, this is a more updated one, which I like after you got the number 2?
Number 2 of 2016.
Yeah, 2016. Because for the longest time, Jake, if you haven't seen that before, longest time that Decade was sitting on top of that. That was the flagship.
Absolutely.
That 95 rating was the flagship. The Royale wasn't out yet. It's crazy that Edge, I'm sorry, I'm not going to dog on anything and talk bad about it, but that Edge Habana being rated at 94 was shocking.
Yeah. Just
because of the price point, because of smoking it. I didn't really think it was all that complex as far as smoking that.
Correct.
But I think it's a good cigar, but that's where it's like 94, all right. Okay.
Yeah,
as for the ratings, you can talk about that all day long.
Absolutely. I when I'm doing events and I have this up, it's a nice tool to use to point out the different blends that we have.
Yeah.
I love it because we have a lot of blends. A lot of great blends, and this gives me, kind of that rundown where I can hit this and hit that, and especially when it's on the table, if I have a group of people there, I can have something to point to that everybody can see and knock out,
It's like you can talk about the weather, or you can have your green screen in the background.
Right.
Where you have no idea where the hell you're
at. If I tell you it's 94,
you're looking here,
and I'm doing the Ohio weather, I'm saying it's 94 in Westerville. If you're watching the news and you're listening to this and you live in Westerville, you know where you're at.
Right.
But you have to be able to point to Westerville because it helps.
It helps.
So for our live viewers, we're going to save it real quick. We can get back into it.
I don't like the way this thing was moving, so I wanted to save it.
Oh, slowing down.
Yeah. And that's going on, so let's say this quick.
I'm glad for you tuning in, Josh. It's awesome feedback. Thanks for adding to the conversation. Bobby Crow, Eric Black. Eric Black's doing a dry week, so
sorry about your luck.
Good luck with that, man. I definitely understand that. I don't know if Todd's still on, but thank you everyone for tuning in. Ready?
Yeah. Where are we at here? Because to be able to point to
Done. Laugh, man.
Oh, yeah.
I get it like that too.
Are you ready?
Yeah. So going forward, what do you guys think of the pairing? We talked about the whiskey, the cigar. Like, what do you think of the pairing?
I think it's really good.
I'm actually enjoying it.
Yeah. Again, I think with the Corojo, I get a nice little nuttiness, a little bit of coffee note in there as well. So yeah, I mean, you throw that with the bourbon and right.
Got a nice pepper in the retrohale too.
Yeah.
It does.
And what I like is whenever there's pepper in a cigar, I need balance. I'm not a big peppery fan. Yeah. So I definitely need balance. And nice. So I was a little, when we first reintroduced this, I was skeptical. Going in and actually this has kind of rejuvenated me as being a fan of Corojo wrappers. Again, I've been a little bit more open because even as a rep, right? You sometimes you get a little closed-minded.
And to sell your product,
right. And you get used to smoking what you enjoy smoking,
right?
And you do. Those are your go-tos, and there are reasons your go-tos. You feel safe with it.
Are you able to retro, Rob?
Oh yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. Same thing from a retail standpoint too. It's you have, and there's more of a portfolio there, obviously, in your inventory.
Right.
So it's like if you don't care for a certain brand a lot of times, or if you just don't care for a certain type of cigar, so like New Cameroon comes in.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna smoke it, but it's like you have that in your head where you're gonna think that you're not gonna enjoy it.
So, absolutely.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
I think the pairing's really good. I agree with you, Rob, where those kind of those toffee notes, like in the cigar and the Corojo. I think the Corojo is actually really rich because I can't retrohale, so I don't get that like pepper blast. Actually, I don't get any pepper from it. But
oh really?
Yeah, because
I think
because
I
can't
pretty much on the retro. You are correct.
It's a little cold out here, and my nose is already running, and I just did it. It's running more.
I wonder if that's because of that Honduran Corojo, right? Is that where it came from?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's because it's from Honduras, but
no, I mean pepperiness is probably that Nicaraguan filler.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's with a lot of our blends. We obviously use a lot of Nicaraguan.
Yeah, more and more it seems.
And like you go to our vintage lineup, and it all has Nicaraguan filler. It all, especially on that first light, you get that pepper.
Get a little pepper
right up front.
Yeah, I think with the bourbon, it's definitely. I think the bourbon brings out some notes in the cigar.
Oh, absolutely.
And
that's
sometimes
why the pairings are so nice.
And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's like opposite, or like we've said, like it can completely botch it.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. As far as that goes, I just took another sip of the Wathens, and it almost has more spice to it now that I'm smoking this cigar. I don't know if that's just lingering on my palate or not.
This is definitely a lingering whiskey. If you look at
the butterscotch.
Yeah, if you look at that
plum.
The plum.
It's like Werther's original, man. It's just it sticks with you.
Which is interesting because it's not like a high proof whiskey, so it's not. I wonder if that's like the sugar, the corn saturation.
Could be.
Yeah.
If you really
makes sense.
dive into
it. Does.
But yeah, I think it's a great pairing. I think it's a good. I think this would be a good fall pairing. If I had to be specific.
Good fall pairing.
Yeah, just sitting out on the back porch,
nice.
the fire pit going, the colors of the leaves, a little bit of sunshine, a nice cool air breeze, just set in that mood.
Wow.
Fucking neighbors yelling.
Ruin it.
I told you. Damn dogs.
It happens again.
Dogs barking.
Yeah. Where are you going with that shotgun? That dog, it's the last time.
You're like the dad on Talladega Nights. Like everything was going great, and I just had to ruin it.
That's it. Oh, shit. Thanks. That's good. I like that. I like that comparison.
Feel good?
He's a good character, and comes around in the end. It's nice.
I've never seen it.
Talladega Nights. I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
You've never seen Talladega Nights?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I've not seen a lot of movies.
That's like people saying they've never seen Shawshank.
Those are two different movies.
Those are very,
but both
very different movies.
Both classifies you as an American.
Yeah, maybe.
If you've seen them.
That's the first time I've ever heard Shawshank
and Talladega Nights.
Well, compared to any Will Ferrell movie.
I'm not comparing.
I was actually just having a conversation.
I'm not comparing it at all. I'm saying,
well, about Will Ferrell.
Oh,
yeah.
Like you're having that conversation about does Shawshank and Talladega Nights really go hand in hand?
Not at all.
You weren't having that conversation? Or you don't
Not that conversation.
Well, you haven't seen Talladega Nights.
No, but who would ever have that conversation?
I don't know.
Except for the three of us.
Yeah, right now.
At this point in time.
It definitely works.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, speaking of new beginnings, watch Talladega Nights.
There you go.
It'll change your
I'll
life
put it in
forever.
my Netflix queue.
For the new year. Alright, so with the cigar, I will say that you can get this at Tinder Box at Easton. We don't have a huge supply of it, but we wanted to try it out at the shop, see what you guys think of it. So if you're in the Columbus area, same thing as we've been saying, 15% off until next Tuesday night when we close down. So you got a week to do this. For those of you that did listen last week, we were planning on doing the Laranja from Espinosa Cigars. With Rob coming on, we wanted to spotlight, and you know, he was gracious enough to bring the cigar, so we called an audible last minute. So hopefully you guys, if you did hold on to it, or if you got an Laranja, hold on to it till next week, or smoke it this week so you can compare notes with us next episode, because that's the plan, to smoke that next week.
Or come in and get another one. Do they still get 15% off the Laranja? We want to do that again?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. If you use, you know, when you get to you tell us it's Bourbon and BS Podcast is the code or whatever, and then you get 15% off either of these cigars.
Or really just, you know, throw it for a loop and smoke the Laranja this week by Olde World Corojo for next week.
Buy them both. Buy them both. I'm really impressed with this cigar. When you first brought these in, so the reps can bring in they can bring in samples for the staff, and when you brought some in after the trade show, you brought some of these. I didn't get one the first time because you brought in like 2 of everything, and I smoked something else. But you had said how great it is, and the two guys that smoked in the shop really enjoyed it as well. Yeah. So I really like this.
Yeah, I do expect this to be a big hit. I mean, it's got the name recognition already from being popular years ago, but also just being a great smoke.
And just to clarify, Joshua, I see on here saying he's going to the Tinder Box of Mobile, Alabama tomorrow morning. I will say that code is not good at any Tinder Box, just Tinder Box at Easton. But if you want to, yeah, you can give it a shot down there. Just say, hey, I was watching Bourbon and BS podcast that Tinder Box at Easton sponsors. They said I can get 15% off the Laranja or the Olde World Reserve Corojo. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
It might be like, oh, okay, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chances are no, but I'd say, cool, yeah, well, we don't have that deal today.
Right.
But I'll sell you one.
Oh, well.
It's worth a try.
Always.
Well, I agree on this pairing's good. And it's funny, we come across another pairing that we really didn't mean to be good, but it's good.
Yeah.
You'd think that whiskey and cigars go together.
That's true, but sometimes it don't.
Sometimes it doesn't. You're right. We got to figure that out also, which is not good. Oliva V and Kathleen's batch was the backyard barbecue. The other Booker's.
Yeah.
Booker's
in the middle of summer.
Oliva V, no.
It's a little much.
Yeah.
A little much.
Okay.
A lot of pepper, little sap. Really full.
Really full. Exactly.
Really full. A lot of pepper.
Yeah. There we go. But so new beginnings. You want to dive into this?
Yes.
All right. So why are we talking about this, Jake?
I think new beginnings, obviously, because of the new year, and because Rob came over here. Was it Sunday?
Okay.
It was Sunday.
Yeah,
I'm all messed up the last 2
Today's
weeks.
Wednesday.
You got Christmas and New Year's on Tuesdays,
Right.
so the weekends are all messed up.
Everything up.
Anyways, so Rob came over to Steve's and last week on Sunday, and
This week on Sunday.
This week, sure. And
3 days ago.
I was here, and we were kind of talking about. We got into relationship stuff, and we were diving into this, and we discussed about. What about new beginnings and stuff like that, and dove into a really, really deep conversation.
There might have been drinks involved.
Yes, well, as they are now.
No, there were drinks involved. There was absolutely drinks involved. And cigars. And
yeah, same as we're
basically
doing now.
like this. We didn't have the microphone out. There were more people here. We had music playing.
Really what happened is we were talking, and Steve was like, why the fuck don't we have the microphone out here? So we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
At a later date.
This is all pre-planned.
Yes, but we know as the new year begins, and we talked about it last week too with our topic, where a lot of people, there's a lot of new beginnings for people at the beginning of the year, whether they're trying to change themselves or in some way. And we can joke about like the people that say they do and don't, but it's a joke only if it's not. If it's to them, if it's that important, then it shouldn't be that big of a joke.
Absolutely.
And if they stick to their guns, then fine. But it's one of those things where if we're all going through basically a new time, some kind of lackadaisical, they put a lackadaisical term on the new year, right? New year, new me.
Right.
Even Alicia and I were like laughing about it as we were walking to Steve's car on New Year's evening and going to a New Year's Eve evening and going to another friend's house. But it's honestly true where for some people, I think it gives them a timeline, like we talk about
a lot of times on the previous podcast.
And even though there shouldn't be, if it positively affects somebody's life, then why joke about it?
Right, absolutely. Everybody's got their struggle, their thing that they're always trying to do better. And if it's that New Year reset, that is the catalyst for them to do something better.
Yeah.
Of course we make light of certain things, but no, we shouldn't ever discourage anybody in that endeavor to reset, to do better, to be better. Yeah. We should all encourage it greatly.
That's true.
It's because it is. Every single one of the three of us, four of us, and everybody listening, watching, we all do it. We all have those things every day. Doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, end of the year. We all have those things every day of our life that we always say, well, we need to do this better. We need to do that better. And just naturally with, the year's end and New Year beginning, it gives people kind of that mental fresh start. It gives them, that clean slate.
It's a reminder.
And as it pertains to the table, there's a lot of new beginnings sitting around the table as well.
Absolutely.
Like I'm starting a new job. Steve's buying a new house, getting that all settled in.
Rob just bought a new house.
Just moved back to Ohio a year ago. Bought a new house this past year. Mm-hmm. New territory, a lot of new stuff.
We'll talk.
Amanda says, "Cheers to positivity and always trying to improve." That's big. I want to say real quick. Looking back, I think with New Year's resolutions, some of the more positive things that I've seen, you have your classic ones, and it's interesting to see how many of those, like I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to go work out. Mm-hmm. We talked about on this recently on this podcast where it's like educating yourself on how to do it. When you have that plan, you don't just say, I'm going to do something, and then you just go to the gym and you don't know what to do other than go on the treadmill.
Right.
Or I'm going to eat healthier. Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, actually, I think a big part of the New Year's resolutions is to educate yourself. But one thing I want to throw on the table is one way I think to really frame what you want to do going forward, if you have to use the calendar for that, or if it helps, is what has changed in the last year. Mm-hmm. Since last New Year's. Like, did you have any New Year's resolutions last year? Did they stick? And I think even more importantly, what has changed? Like, what's out of your life? Mm-hmm. That was, and hopefully in a sense, like, the reflection. So if you had something that you were struggling with going into last year, are you still struggling with that? Mm-hmm. That might be the one that you really need to focus on.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
Whether it's something that you're battling with as far as, not exercising, eating poorly. I eat fast food on every weekend because I drink and I don't want to do that, or
financial strife, relationship
stuff. Relationship is a big one. If you have someone in your life that's really bringing you down,
right?
That people say, if you surround yourself with negative people, sometimes you do it for the right reasons. It's not just that you're, and I can speak to that, being addicted to someone and taking that as something being commonplace. But were you dealing with that going into last year, whether it be that person, that food, that habit, whatever it might be, and you're saying it again, or if you're not saying it, you gotta actually, I think this is a great tool to get to that point where you can actually say, I came in the last year, or this did leave my life between then and now, and actually appreciate that, whether it was planned or not, and then to maybe build off of that going forward.
That's a great point. When it's very important to think about that. And actually, as Steve's saying that, I'm thinking of things where even today I was kind of thinking it's January 2nd, and you're like, I didn't really do much today, so it was instantly like, well, I'm screwed already. And I don't think people should have that mindset. And I think it takes a strong person to say, once you get in that mindset,
you can start those New Year's resolutions in June.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I said, there's no date that has to be put on things. And if you fall down, in week 2, week 3, month 3, month 4, you get back up. But I think the big thing for a lot of people, and something I'm trying to do better, is plan.
Yes. Yes.
Put that roadmap together.
Yeah.
Again, as I said, the reflection, as you were pointing on. See where I was, see what I did, see how I did it, see how I can do things better, and actually sit and plan for it, and map it out. Say, okay, well, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's great to have a list of to-dos, but if you don't know, like you said, going to the gym and just getting on a treadmill, if you don't have the game plan to actually,
still, but
right, but if you don't have a legitimate game plan to execute, then I don't want to say it's empty. I mean, at least you're trying something, but you can do it better.
Yeah, you can, and I think that's really where you get to the point where you're arming yourself. I mean, just like anything that you're doing in life, if you in your business and in your financial, personal stuff.
Right.
If you're going to buy a house, again, typically, there was a time not too long ago during the subprime, you're like, I'm going to buy a house this weekend. And we're like, okay, here's all your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you go, foreclose on your house. But anymore, you do have to plan a bit. There takes some foundation there. So when it comes to any of these things with New Year's resolutions, the new beginnings, I mean, that's where I know it's classic, a little cliche to even talk about that on January 2nd, but I agree, it's fitting.
It's so fitting. And I wanted to bring up another subject where it's like talking about, I think some people, when I think there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with a bad mindset, right? A lot of us are very negative, right? And I think for some people that are very positive in their lives, they have they make life simple, and when they're giving advice to the people that aren't very mentally strong and they're negative right now and they want to change that, I think the people that are mentally strong and that are very positive, I think they have simple answers, and that doesn't speak very well to the people. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't speak very well, I think, mostly to the people that are unhealthy in that mindset. And I read something from, I don't know if I said this on the last podcast, but if you don't know who Lewis Howes is, he's a Columbus resident, and he's an entrepreneur, influencer in the local community and stuff like that.
What's his name again for everyone?
Lewis Howes.
Lewis Howes.
Yeah, LEWISH or HOWES.
Okay.
Anyways, he had this quote that I thought was great. And it said, you can go to the gym, you can drink your water, you can take your vitamins, but if you don't deal with the shit going on in your heart and your head, you're still going to be unhealthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my point behind what I'm saying is that a lot of the people that are positive and that are trying to give answers and advice to others and trying to make them feel better, and it's very simple, I don't think it works because most of the time that involves those kind of things. Well, are you drinking enough water? I know that's always my mom's answer. Like when I'm if I'm feeling sick or something, are you drinking enough water?
Yeah. Dude,
are you taking your vitamins?
Valid.
Like, are you going to the gym? It is valid, but it doesn't I think if you do those things and you're still in a negative mindset, it doesn't change anything.
Right.
And when we're talking about new beginnings, you really need to figure the stuff out that's going on in your head and your heart before you start new other endeavors.
I want to throw out there though that and we've talked about it before, getting healthy. That is absolutely right, but I think it goes both ways. I want to actually throw that out there, that if you are trying to address things that you're emotionally going through, mentally going through, and all of that, if you are not taking care of yourself physically, you will not have the capacity to do that.
Right.
I will say that. It goes. That's a very. I like that.
I can speak very personally on that.
Go ahead.
33, 370 pounds,
right,
and diabetic. And I was not in a good place in my life. I was not in a good place in my head and my heart.
Yeah.
I needed to change. Diabetes saved my life. It's something no one ever says. Yeah. But that was the kick in the ass that I needed to change the way I was doing things.
But what did the kick in the ass do, per se? Was it just immediate and the next day, you just said, I'm changing? Or how do you go about doing that? How do you
For me, it was pretty close to that. It was
really?
pretty close to that. Yeah. I started working out right away. I worked in a hospital for some time, and and I've seen a lot of, you know, the affliction that can come from diabetes, and I didn't want to be part of that game. And so that was my rock bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It scares you.
And so right away, I got started. Started working out, started eating better, and but I still had to learn how to do it better, how to work out better, how to.
Yeah. What does better mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Not as bad. That is a better.
Right.
But what's the ultimate?
But what's
the goal?
Yeah, my goal, and I still try to live by it mostly today, is, you know, I didn't want to formulate a diet, and, you know, I new lifestyle is what I was looking for.
Right.
You know I needed
That's
that new
huge.
lifestyle. That's something that I could be, you know, consistent with, something that fit with me. And like I always tell people, especially, you know, and you can attest to this, you know, being, well, both of you going to the gym and working out. One of the biggest things is I always tell people, like, if you have these aspirations to get healthier in the gym and, you know, doing this and that. So you said you go to the gym, you just do the treadmill, and then, you know, you do that for a couple of weeks and you're just bored.
Yeah.
Well, the minute you get bored, you got to change. You got to change, because you'll fall off quickly.
In your routine.
Yeah, the minute you get that boredom with anything you do, you've got to change your routine. You got to keep that you know, mental, you know, aspect, you know, peaked.
Exactly.
Well, I think also with that, I think this is probably universal to anything that you're trying to do, but with exercise, I'm going to exercise. I don't like cardio. Like at a certain point, I need to start doing it. And I keep telling myself that. But when you lost weight, I don't know if did you do a lot of cardio, or was it mostly diet?
Well, diet. I did P90X.
All right, so that's everything. But I see people in the gym. I go to a Lifetime Fitness here in town, and I still do kind of the same stuff I've been doing, because I've been doing it now for a decade. I could absolutely probably get in even better shape and feel even better and get past some of my plateaus if I went from my strength training that I really enjoy. I went from 5 days a week down to 4 days a week now. I'm really enjoying it, but I see these people doing all these other exercises that would probably make me get gassed like that, you know, but I would probably see a lot of results from that. My point with this is that I don't want to first of all, pay for a personal trainer. I'm happy with my results mostly. I'm happy with the fact that I've maintained, and that's always been my goal, is to maintain good health, especially since last year. I didn't post it this year, but last year I posted a 4-year progress picture that was different, where you see it on social media, where it's like, you know, and I had 4 years prior where I was 240, and then at 9 months later that year I was like 184, 185. It was a dramatic change there as well. And then 4 years later I was around 195. So like in the pictures, it was kind of like, this is the, not transformation, but it's more importantly, in 4 years I've maintained this, as opposed to doing this whole thing where you go in and all you do is cardio. If you don't like it, that's one thing, but at the same time, you have to find what works for you.
Absolutely.
So that's the education part too, is that it's not necessarily, you can go to a personal trainer and you may not like the way that they personal train.
Right.
But sticking with it, that's the commitment there. Absolutely. Is that if you don't like cardio, it's like, all right, so I'm not going to be on the treadmill, so I'll try the elliptical. I'm going to try the bike. I'm going to try all this stuff, and I'm not feeling any better. I'm not getting any gains. And then you actually start learning about like strength training, or you see people in the gym. You're starting to be, you know, observant of what people are doing in the gym around you, as opposed to just not like, no one look at me type thing.
Right.
Look at them, you know, try to learn from them. And if you need to try some movements at home in front of a mirror or whatever it is, look it up online, try to figure out what they're actually doing. That, I think, is, again, universal to a lot of things.
Absolutely.
You know, you talk about like work, when you talk about relationships, you can't necessarily just mimic, or like, I'm going to have a better relationship this year. Yeah. Or, I'm going to throw you on the bus. Like Rob says, he tells me this on Sunday before we came over here, we were watching football. He's like, you know, this year I'm going to be single. And I told him what I tell anyone. It's like, that's great, but don't keep the blinders on, 100%. Because if you're open to it, but at the same time, it's other people with relationships, like, this is the year I'm going to find my soulmate. It's like, that's not a resolution.
Right.
That is not necessarily like if you want to open yourself up, try to work on you, you know, do all these things. That's the foundation there. That if someone does come around, that you're not the same old person, that you're just constantly striving for something without knowing what you're looking for. But if you work on yourself, you'll probably gain that goal.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk. Like, we preach this stuff. So, like, what's, you know, Steve, like you're talking about, like, the plan. Like, I know you've, like, a plan to be better, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, like, I know you voiced to me personally that like you like wish to or you want to see your abs again, right?
Yeah, I'm getting there actually.
Are you?
Yeah.
So what did you do differently in the gym? Is it just diet, or like you don't enjoy cardio, but is that something that is going to take you to that next level? Like what's
it could maybe it could get me there faster or whatever. But cardio is exactly what's in the name, and I'm not a health expert, but cardio is for cardiovascular health. That's it. You burn calories while you're doing it, but you know the way you get abs, it's in the kitchen or it's in what you put in your body. That's how it works. And one of the things I actually realized I was doing compared to when I lost the weight, and I'm not giving anyone dietary advice, anything like that. It works differently for everyone. There's a couple things I did going into this year. I went back to the point where I was still eating Chipotle a lot. I was eating like Piata. For those of you that don't know, you're not in the area, Piata is kind of like an Italian version of Chipotle. It's not that big yet. It's delicious.
It's delicious.
But I was getting pasta with it. I was getting, the rice, obviously with Chipotle. With back when I lost the weight, I was eating Subway, so I had the wheat bread. Now I've got on this craze with everyone else, Chick-fil-A. So I stop by the Chick-fil-A drive-thru every morning, and I get 2 egg white grills, so it's on an English muffin. So I'm still getting carbs, but I have lowered it. I'm not counting carbs or anything like that, but I have physically lowered what I'm getting. So now when I go to Piata, I get spinach instead of the noodles. I'm going back to eating more chicken breasts as opposed to eating Chipotle twice a day or whatever, and I was splitting that up, but now my appetite's up. The other thing I've been doing, and I go this Monday to my doctor, I lowered my testosterone shot because that's something that I'm really in tune with as well, because I take the TRT stuff. So I've got this flexibility there where I was prescribed a certain amount of testosterone, but again, and this is something that some people can relate to, that it's more and more common, but when you're on that, when you raise your testosterone levels, it's not necessarily like anabolic levels of steroid level, what people are talking about, where your test is way up here, and you have to take a estrogen blocker or an inhibitor or whatever it is, because your body as a man or a female, your hormones try to balance themselves out.
Yeah.
So if you are low testosterone, your lower range of that, which is extremely common and being talked about more and more now, which is I'm happy with, your estrogen will start to climb a little bit over time. So it'll try to balance that out in your body. So if you're doing a little bit too much, so I started seeing some bloating. I was a little more sluggish. I wasn't getting the effects that I originally was, and I think it's because my estradiol level was rising a little bit. So I go into my doctor for my 6-month check. We're going to check it out, but I lowered it. I clicked it down in a sense, and I've actually, in a matter of probably 3 weeks, along with my dietary changes, I've started getting back to the point where I'm seeing more lean results.
You take vitamins on top,
but that never changed.
Right, but I'm just saying, for
dude,
people that want to get healthy, it's different. Like if you're
and I did my research over the years.
Right, but I'm saying I don't think it's healthy for people to just eat chicken breast all the time.
Certainly not, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not giving dietary advice. I mean,
because your supplement for the vitamin, like the greens and stuff.
Yeah, but again, I eat spinach a lot. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing as
I just want to make that
veggies.
clear.
I eat broccoli and stuff like that. But
this is your advice.
Yeah, so I do take multivitamin. That's not your typical over the counter. It is over the counter. Don't get me wrong. It's from GNC, but it's not like your Centrum or One A Day or anything like that. It's from Jim Stepani. It's JYM. So it's a brand that this guy's got, I think, at least 2 PhDs or something like that. And
he's smart.
And it's about when you take your vitamins. It's kind of like next level, you know what I mean? So in your typical Centrum, you're going to have these vitamins that are in those pills that actually not counteract, but they make it's counterintuitive. So there's certain vitamins that will block the other ones from being processed properly if you take them all at the same time.
Yeah.
So again, there's an education there, and I mean, I'm taking it from another guy's education, and now he's selling products, so he might be, talking out his ass too, but I doubt it. I'd like to think he's not. So it's like I take zinc at night. At any end, I don't take it at the same time. Zinc and magnesium and B6, I take it at a different time than I do my multivitamin. I take vitamin D3, and I take the maximum amount, which is 10,000 IUs. I take that at a different time than my multivitamin.
Right.
So those aren't in my multivitamin. So I'm watching those levels too.
Yeah.
So I can take that, and if I'm getting some in my food, but a lot of these things aren't in it. I take lithium orotate because that's not in any of our soil or water anymore, and that was something that my doctor talked to me about. That's from Amazon. It's real cheap. It's one pill. It helps with mood stabilization, and it's actually a more of a proven thing as opposed to other herbs that are just kind of out there. This is actually
I'll probably need 2 of those a day.
Are you taking notes on this?
You know, and
I hope our listeners are. Man, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Thank you.
My point is, so that's all right. So we talk about health. We're talking about the fact that you want to get healthier. My best advice to anyone, and you can start with your general practitioner. I'm not saying go to like a holistic doctor tomorrow or anything like that. I'm saying the doctor I went to for all this last year, the base thing, and I was already on TRT, and I was I've already been doing these supplements and everything like that. But his basis, which is what I think everyone should do, if you want to get healthier, figure out your starting point. Mm-hmm. And again, this is part of that education. So if you're talking about the health side of it, I went to a doctor, and with the visit, and then basically it's not just one thing that you're testing for in your blood test. There were like 12, 15 vials of blood they took out of me, and it was 4 pages of blood results. Vitamins, minerals, your PSA level for your prostate as a male, your testosterone levels, both free and total. It was, boron was in there. I mean, it was just like fucking everything. Mm. And then he looks at all the results, and he says, all right, so based on this, and he starts asking you questions. Do you feel like this sometimes? So the lithium stuff, it was basically like, do you feel like you're kind of having on and off days a bit? And I was like, yeah, I feel like everyone does. And he said, well, based on this is what's happening. He's got a whiteboard in there, and he's just throwing knowledge at me that I forgot 50% of it by the time I walked out of his office. Yeah. But he's like, I would recommend you take 5 milligrams of this, a day, and I think you might see some positive results. And he's like, oh, also you're at the low level of this, and it was for thyroid. It's like your thyroid's working fine, but it's at the low level. Do you ever get tired in the middle of the day, around 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon? It's like, yeah, I think everyone does. And I said, that's like the 2 o'clock pot of coffee at every office. Mm-hmm. And that's when he's like, well, I would recommend you maybe try this prescription, or you try a supplement. And he's like, I think the supplement might work. I know the prescription will work. Hmm. And so about 8 months into it, I was taking the prescription, and I called him up and I said, I don't know what's going on. You have to take it like first thing in the morning. You have to take it. You can't have any calcium after for 4 hours. You can't do this. I mean, it's like thyroid medication is no joke. Mm. And so I said, the fact that I don't have to be on it, I'm going to switch over to the thyroid support supplement. He said, that's fine. Go ahead. I know your level. You were fine, but I figured this would help. Yeah. And the fact my hands get dry in the wintertime to a point where they can bleed, he said that's actually a sign of low thyroid function as well. Hmm. And so that didn't get any better. So I was like, I'm getting off this because I don't want to stay on it. I don't want to, I didn't know if that had something to do with the bloating and everything else too. That my thyroid, because sometimes if you take a thyroid supplement, you actually will lose some weight. And there's also other side effects, like he says, and I love this doctor. He's like, now Steven, do you want to have kids? And when a doctor says, do you want to have kids, you're like, I don't know, or why?
Can I?
Well, it's better with doctor.
What's going to happen?
Asking
and he says, well, if you take this thyroid medication, he's like, you're much more fertile. And he said, so I'm just telling you. And he's like,
grab it.
And he's a Puerto Rican guy, right? So he's just like, now Steven, I do not want you calling me and being mad at me that you got some girl pregnant.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not, what? And that's a terrible accent. I'm not good at accents, but I do one accent in Southie Boston, but I don't know.
I didn't hear it change at all.
I didn't hear another accent.
That was an absolutely horrible accent.
It just wasn't there.
He also said with the vitamin D, he asked me how much vitamin D I was taking, and I told him, but I hadn't taken it for a while, so that's where he said, he's the only Puerto Rican in this room, and he takes 10,000 IUs. He's like, you're very white, you need to take vitamin D. So, it's extremely
nice.
Extremely into it.
Well, no, that was good. I think that's the reason why I was asking all those questions was for the viewers, because we talk about this stuff, but it's really there's no background story really on it, and if we take a pause,
you might have to because the broadcast, and our producer's taking a piss.
Bad time, Dustin. Bad time.
Damn, you have one job.
I think we're back on.
Is it actually rolling?
Yeah, it is. Oh,
or is it stopping again?
It keeps stopping.
Yeah, there's no one watching.